Hey everybody, and welcome back to my unprocessed life. I hope you're having a good day. It's a Friday, which, means something right now, because I get to go home for the weekend before I have to head up to Nashville to do some more work-related things or fun-related things, or however you want to look at it, I guess. How about fun work-related things? So it's been a good day, all things considered. It's been a different day. So I know you're on the edge of your seat to find out what happened at lunch, because I had that corporate lunch today, or the company lunch today. And the place that I had to go to, get this, was a Brazilian steakhouse. Luckily, they do have salads. They have salad bars, and so we went and did that. I had the salad bar. Everybody else had, meat. I didn't. I did, however, have the salad bar, and on the salad bar, there was not a huge selection of raw salad items. They were mostly vegan. Not all of them. There are some that were not, but most of them were vegan. So I was able to have 4 or 5 big plates of romaine lettuce and some other lettuce that I didn't recognize. Well, I don't know the name of them. I recognize it. I've seen them before. But I also had some hearts of palm and some artichoke hearts and things that were definitely cooked. And there was a lot of oil on everything. I tried to stay away from as best I could. I ate a lot of fresh tomatoes, and then I also had a good couple helpings of couscous, which I'm hoping was as vegan as possible. But the interesting thing is we've gotten about 3 hours away from this, and my sinuses already started to act up a little bit, and it's interesting, one of the things that you notice as you start to try to eat more and more of a healthy diet and an unprocessed diet, you become, like I said, I was talking this morning or the other day, more in tune to your body and what happens in your body, and you start to notice things like, hey, I'm not having any problems breathing, I'm all good, and then you eat something that's cooked, and immediately now I'm starting to have some sinus drainage. I'm starting to have some mucus stuff going along, and it's interesting. It's not, this isn't one of those, I told you this sort of things, or preaching at you, oh yeah, I told you that this is bad or this is terrible or whatever. The theory was that it's not good. The data, as we've talked about many times, backs it up. At least the data I've read. So now when you experience it, it's not like it's shocking to you. You recognize it. It's kind of like if you buy a new car, or maybe you discover a new car or truck or something, and then all of a sudden, you never noticed that car before, but now you see it everywhere. It's just because, your conscious has been more, it's now more attuned to that particular model. They were always there. You saw lots of them before. You just never really realized it because you weren't conscious about, how many of that particular, how many of those Dodge Neons are everywhere. I use that example because that was something that happened to me in real life. My father, back when the Dodge Neons were brand new, which was years ago, 96 or something. Anyway, maybe even earlier than that, 94, I don't know. He bought a brand new Dodge Neon, and I had never heard of one, and he had never really heard of one either until he started kind of researching it and looking at it and so forth. And he then one day we're driving down the road, and he's like, man, these neons are everywhere. I never noticed it before I bought one. Well, there you go. It's kind of the same thing with the when you start paying attention to your diet and the way it affects you. A lot of times we don't pay attention to those things. We ignore them because we're still on our high from our bad food, or our poor choices. You know, Thanksgiving's a good example of that. You go, you're like, oh man, I want to eat a lot of turkey, and you eat all this turkey, and you eat all this dressing, and you eat all these things that, you know, are really better for you in some cases than some of the stuff that you would buy like at McDonald's or something along those lines. And then you go afterwards and you're stuffed and your body's like, oh my God, help me process this. And you're like, oh yeah, I love that feeling. It's good. Well, that's really no different than a drug addict, you know, shooting up. Boom. Oh man, this feels so good. But it's really not. You know, it's the same sort of deal. And it's kind of funny too, because I recognize it. Like today, I'm at a Brazilian steakhouse. Now, let me be honest and very straightforward here. I do not pay establishments like a Brazilian steakhouse for their salad bars or their food or whatever, because I don't really want to perpetuate the chain any more than than it already is. This just happened to be an occasion where it was a company sort of sponsor deal, and there was some important things for me to be a part of for my work, and I'm not in a position to not do those things, really. I don't feel like I am. I feel like there are some things that are more important than your particular dogma or your particular belief structure, as long as you don't have to violate it in an unethical way. And I know I can hear the ethical vegans right now out there telling me, you know, what you're doing is wrong, you're contributing. I get all that, and I'm cool with that. I'm cool with the choice that I've made. And you know, when I started trying to find a way to eat healthy, it wasn't about the animals. It really wasn't. I loved eating them. I was a barbecue guy. I had no problems with it. My perspective has changed. It's changed a lot. But that doesn't mean that I don't understand that perspective. I've been there. And it's interesting. It was interesting today because guess what the topic of conversation was at lunch? My diet. My craziness. You know, how do you do it? How do you go without meat? How do you know, the whole thing? Which, again, as I've said before, I don't mind those questions at all. The problem comes in sometimes in those social settings because I can't very easily be honest about it. Not 100%. I can say, you know, I can answer questions and so forth, and I try to be nice about it and so forth. But sometimes they push me a little bit too far, you know, and I could never do this. Man, you know, you watch them, and one of my friends, you know, he's a meat eater, and he's like, man, I keep thinking about being vegan, you know, but then I come to one of these places, I'm like, oh screw that. And it's funny. It's sad, but it's funny in one respect or another, because and here's why. The deal is that what I see when I see those types of things happen, I really don't get mad about it. What I see is an addicted culture. I see an addicted person eating things that they are addicted to. It's no different than a heroin junkie shooting up, or a cocaine guy, you know, somebody who's on coke snorting their cocaine. And I'm not absolving people of their responsibility, but what I am saying is that if you think about it, if you are drugged from the time you are a child all the way until you're an adult, it's hard to get out of that. It's hard to make the decision to quit doing that. I mean, we could use the examples of girls who were brought into prostitution in countries and shot up with drugs, and then at some point it becomes a way of life that they just can't even fathom getting out of it. They don't even necessarily see something as wrong because they're so addicted to the drug. And in some ways it's like that. It's not like people have been forced to do drugs, but I guess it kind of is. Yeah, I mean, from the time kids are little, unless you're breastfed and then fed fruits and vegetables growing up, unless you have the luxury and the wonderfulness of that being your life, then what you've been fed, what I've been fed, is this processed stuff. For a minute, we'll think about, and really, I don't want to get into all this. I mean, I know I do it a lot. I bird walk, and I end up talking about this because that's where these conversations go a lot of the time. Today at lunch, the reason why this comes up is that, today at lunch is they're like, well, how'd this happen? How'd you choose to do this? What was it? Do you wear leather? Do you, all those kinds of things. Ironically enough, they're the same questions that have been asked to me a ton of times by the same people, and they just forget and whatnot. But at one point or another, then when they start to make fun of it, and they ask, why, and then you explain, well, you can't eat meat. No, I can't eat. I can eat whatever the hell I want to eat. I don't want to eat meat. What? What do you mean you don't want to eat meat? I don't want to eat meat. It's not good for me. It's not good for the planet. And it's not good for the starving children of the world. And all of those are completely true statements. But the minute you say that, then you become the bad guy attacking them. And because by saying, hey, I don't do it because I know it's bad for the environment, it's bad for me, for my health, and it's bad for other people who can't get enough food because all of the food is going to feed the animals. It's bad for the water. Then what you're saying is I'm not doing that, and you are, so you are partially responsible for what's going on. That is the immediate inference, and you can't deny that either. You have to say, well, that is what I'm saying, because that is what you're saying. The difference is that you can say that and not be judging someone for their choice. Because I made that choice too for a really, really long time. And how can I in good conscience, how can I in good conscience go ahead and say, you're a bad person for these choices when I made those choices for a really long time? Now, I guess I could make the argument that once you know that these things are not good for you, not good for other people, not good for the planet, etc., then it's a different knowledge base that you have to deal with. You can make that argument. However, that being said, that's not really the way that I really try to approach these things, because I feel like you get a much better response when you go ahead and are just really honest with people about what you're doing, and you're honest with them about whatever it is that they want to come up with. Like, if you can try to do it without condemnation, I guess that's what I'm getting at, is if you do it without condemnation and you try to just say, hey, if you're curious, here's why, here's what, and so forth, then hopefully they're understanding. Although a lot of times it doesn't really pan out like that. So either way, that was lunch, and I don't feel too badly, although I can definitely tell that there are some things going on, like the sinus, I can't get enough water. I'm super thirsty. I think it dehydrated me a lot because I wasn't eating the same same things that would normally hydrate my body. I was eating things that dehydrated my body. So now I'm like super thirsty and drinking nonstop, and I can't quench my thirst. And I had that happen to me once before too, and it was interesting. So to sum up, make the video a little bit shorter. I don't know if that's possible or not. Basically, it was an alright lunch, but it wasn't a lunch that what makes me feel the way that my normal lunches that I provide would make me feel. I've also decided that for next week, while I'm on the road, I'm not going to I'm going to do what I'm going to call real world raw, which means I'm not really going to be prepared for it, but I'm going to try to do as much raw as I can. I'm going to eat salads when I can, I'm going to eat fruits when I can, and I'm going to go do just the vegan stuff the rest of the time. Cooked vegan food's fine. There are some raw food restaurants up there, so I'm going to try to do some of those, but next week is going to be just based on my workload and what's happening. I think the best way for me to attack it at this point in my life. Now, that doesn't mean that at a later point in my life I won't see things differently, but it means that at this point in my life right now, I kind of feel like one of the best things to do is going to be to go ahead and just try to stay vegan next week, plant-based, whole food plant-based, as little oil as possible. Open that up quite a bit for me. So, and then I'll be back the week after that, and we can continue on doing the raw stuff a little bit more frequently. So I'll still be doing all of my Instagram stuff. You can still find me at unprocessed.life on Instagram. You can also get me on email. I'm still going to be doing my pictures and things like that, just so that everybody has the information, and I'm still going to be doing my videos. I'll probably be doing as many videos, if not more, because I'll have more time on my hands. The commute will be different, all those kinds of things. And I'll have 3 hours of commuting time going up to Nashville on Monday morning, so look forward to hearing from me then, for sure. Thank you for spending time with me today. I love spending time with you. I hope you enjoy spending it with me. I know there's a lot of other things you could be doing, a lot of other entertainment options out there. I just hope that the time you spend with me, you feel is well worth it. Have a great weekend. Have a great day. I will, of course, talk to you tomorrow. I've got to go back to the farmer's market, so we'll probably do some of that too. Love y'all. Thank you for spending time.